Entertainment journalists have been spinning a narrative for years. The idea that everyone needs to see themselves on screen, their own beliefs represented. There's just one side that the youngsters want, and if you push what we tell you to push, you'll make money. But there's a movie which has destroyed the narrative, and that movie is Top Gun. No matter how much these same sites despise having to admit it, Top Gun Maverick has been a resounding success. Highest ever UK opening. The second weekend raking in 90 million, smoking the competition with a stunning projected 33% drop. But the issue they have with Top Gun Maverick is it goes completely against the narrative. It's meant to entertain, not educate. There's no hidden messages here. This is a movie that was created for the fans. It was created to follow as a great sequel to the original movie. It was a movie that didn't take sides, and that's one of the reasons that the journalists hate it so much. Even in their own words, in their own hit piece, they had to admit, in other words, Top Gun 2 is studiously apolitical. But that isn't the message they've been pushing. The message they've been pushing is that as a company, you have to be political. You have to put the message. Your tick boxes have to be ticked. Otherwise, it will fail and you will lose money. So they only had one thing left to do. They had to lie. And it started, look, Hollywood, don't take the wrong lessons from Top Gun Maverick. This article focuses on special pleading. Top Gun, no, it's not a blueprint that everyone should use. If everyone did this, you'd all fail. Top Gun is one of a kind. It's unique among all movies. Nostalgia is a superpower for Top Gun. The message for Hollywood is don't go back to the vault and trudge up any old movie in the hopes of reaping massive box office riches. It may be tempting, but the age-old tactic only works when the studio and filmmaking team can make a compelling case for a sequel to exist on its own. It's a reasonable argument. There's a lot of sense to it, and that's very rare for a journalist. But that was only the opening salvo. Yes, we'll start with reasonableness, but once we've got you to agree, then we're going to lead you down the garden path and get progressively more extreme until by the end we're just on a hill screaming covered in our own feces. And that is the line that the journalists went down with this one. Top Gun Maverick has a secret weapon even its makers didn't know about. Even the people that created the movie didn't know the top secret mystery of its success. But don't worry, because this variety journalist has all of the keys to the kingdom of riches. It's a great and timely villain. Hint. It's Russia. Yes, this guy is still convinced he's living in the 1970s watching James Bond films about the Cold War. But oh no, wouldn't you know, actually, it's all about the one person which he personally has a vendetta against. Isn't it amazing how suddenly this apolitical movie just happens to support everything we believe? Of course, there are some major flaws in his theory, namely the fact that by his own admission, the villain is never mentioned. In fact, it's not in the script. The filmmakers didn't even know about it, yet you can feel it. Yes, it's hidden under your bed. There's a sensation of foreboding about it as I go around my daily life. What is it? What could it possibly be? Lurking in the shadows? Well, obviously, it's Vladimir's Russia. All you need to do is connect the dots. If we look in the air and just make up some BS, obviously, maybe we can write it in a variety article and we could just force feed it among some peasantry. Because in Maverick, no one says the word. On the contrary, it's obvious that the filmmakers were bending over backwards to make the whole standoff as neutral and non-topical as possible. But if you actually twist it this way, angle it this way, and cover it in a very, very hefty dose of your own ideological obsession, then maybe, just maybe, you can possibly squeeze out a drop of things which support the position that you want it to support. This is a movie which everyone admits didn't want to do this, but they're going to try and force it anyway, because that way they can get some of that reflected glory from its success and go, this is what you need to do. Don't follow the script of what made it popular. No. Follow what a variety journalist imagined it might possibly be that he dreamed about once when he was high. He has based this entire nonsensical diatribe, and it's a very, very long article, on one single word. NATO. Now, I personally don't know anything about jets, but I do find it funny that the very, very first comment is, sorry, Owen, the villain is obviously Iran, as they're the only country to have F-14s. And at least according to Wikipedia, it was relied from the US in 2006, and the F-14 does indeed remain in service in their Air Force. But of course, when it comes to this, and indeed journalism in general, we don't actually care about the truth. We just care about getting loads of things which sound as if they're true, and use that to construct whatever narrative we need today to influence actual perception. Because perception is reality, not reality. We'll just ignore that and just hope that we can get something to believe it's true, and then use that to leverage whatever end result we actually want. It doesn't matter if you're honest. It matters if you win. But the issue is, if you want to spin a narrative which isn't true, anything which actually goes contradictory to that idea has to be destroyed or disproven or somehow eradicated. These are the driving forces between slander, slurs, and censorship. We either have to shut you up, make people not believe you, or just get rid of you completely. Then we have articles like The Guardian, no, Top Gun Maverick's success isn't down to being pro-America or anti-woke. And yes, I can confirm it's not down to being pro-America, as seen by its success outside of America. I'm British. The American Air Force doesn't really mean much to me one way or the other. But at the same time, it wasn't what the movie was about. The movie was about guys flying jets and being entertaining. It was a story about success and failure and challenge. The actual event that they did was almost incidental. The mission at the end was kind of just done without a second thought. It was the training up to it that took up most of the movie, because it was about the people and their struggles, not flying jets. But the most interesting thing is how they describe the movie. It's not anti-woke. It isn't, because it doesn't take sides. This is the article which admits itself that it's studiously apolitical. So isn't it interesting then that the site which admits that it doesn't take sides somehow still deems that to be the enemy? Because it's never enough. It's not enough to not take sides. You have to submit completely and totally. Otherwise, you're as good as an enemy. This is something which EA recently discovered. They changed their logo. They already submitted, but the submission wasn't in its entirety. They didn't come out and make a message and come out and announce to everybody that we fully and utterly will do everything you want. And so, even though there was a slight bit of just non-compliance, obviously they had to be crushed, with an employee walkout being threatened. This was corporate blackmail. Employees had demanded that the company speak up and not just rainbow wash the EA logo. After they came out with a statement, the employees suddenly actually backed down. The thing is, to me, if I run a company and a load of employees say, if you don't do this, we're going to walk out, surely they've just solved your problem for you. And that's exactly what they can't allow the corporations to actually realize. You don't even have to take a side. You don't even have to support anyone's side. All you have to do is do what your company should be focusing on, entertaining people, and suddenly you will rake in the cash. And the moment any example at all comes out, any idea that doesn't submit to the cause and does not get crushed, well, obviously, they have to jump to the slurs and the slander. And that is where you get the Guardian article. Because it's curious how they tried to claim it that the sequel's box office success was their success, when no, all anyone's pointing out is it is a success. And that's enough. When your ideas are so fragile that just someone not taking your side is already a defeat, then it's very likely that you're going to start losing. And that is something they even seem to admit itself. It is indeed true that Maverick does not go out of its way to celebrate inclusion and diversity in the sometimes cloying corporate way most closely associated with various Disney properties. Disney completely submits to everything they ask, and even then, they're like, actually, we don't like the way Disney does it. It's still not enough, because many, though not all of the trainees who get to the most screen time are also cream! Of course, people need to emphasize the traditional nature of Top Gun Maverick. I don't know, maybe that's because it's trying to be a sequel to a film from decades ago, you know, back when entertainment was good. I believe that the more traditional views are better myself, but I don't think it matters. Because in this, all you need is for a movie to make money. And so if traditional entertainment is what makes you money, that's clearly what the company should be doing, and it's exactly what they're scared of. This is why they start talking about ginning up outrage, and sometimes even real-world violence. Yes, so many people, they went out and watched Top Gun Maverick, and then they jumped into an F-14 and started flying it around the Earth. Be right back, I've just got to save the world from a radioactive storage building. And just in case you're in any doubt that this journalist cared about such things as the truth, I would like to point out that they call the film movie Captain Marvel entirely middle of the road. Yes, absolutely zero messaging in Captain Marvel. Oh, That's a completely unbiased piece of work. And soon after, due to various contradictions, they out themselves that, actually, we're just going to say whatever we have to say in whatever paragraph we need to say it, regardless of any kind of cohesive story, because it says that Top Gun Maverick does have a conservative skew. In the next paragraph, in other words, Top Gun 2 is studiously apolitical. It's interesting how apolitical is conservative now. Anything that doesn't entirely submit to this is obviously the enemy. But my favourite part of the entire article is this. People love it because it's apolitical, as it allows them to claim just plain folks, which have no socio-political dimension. The normal. Please, to keep politics out of movies, have an implicit definition that it includes radical concepts like various different checkboxes. Some of us inadvertently play this too, when we detect the insidious agenda in movies with ideological or provocative ambiguities. Oh no, the ambiguous nature is provoking me, because it doesn't completely submit to everything I demand. Like, I don't know, arbitrary numbers of people in the cast, regardless of how unrealistic that would be in the scenario. I'm not exactly sure that having a stereotype of being bad at reverse parking does translate to being the best in the world as a jet fighter pilot, but apparently none of that matters to the Guardian, because the ambiguities are getting to us. It is also interesting how he says some of us inadvertently play into this too, when that is what the entire article is about, while also crapping on it for their identitarian bigoted word salad, because when you want to fabricate a lie, a narrative, a curtain that goes across reality that you can use to pressure and push everything else, when all of your ideas go against actual reality, and yet you've still got to get people on your side, nothing can penetrate the curtain, nothing can draw it back aside so that people can see the truth. Nothing is allowed to be successful that doesn't fall in line. If anything does, then it has to be immediately stopped, immediately cancelled. If we can't cancel it, then we'll co-opt it. Actually, secretly, if you've got as big a brain as we do, then you'll see The Emperor's New Clothes, and that actually, it fully and utterly supports everything that we do. This is our film, really. And if none of that works, then you pull out the final resort, the last stand, the big guns of the slander and the slurs. No, companies, you don't want to do something like that, Top Gun. I know it is actually value neutral, but you don't want to do value neutral. No, you want to completely fall in line with us, because the last thing you would want is for your company and your reputation to, I don't know, get some bad press, go against the journalists. Because if you do, we release hit pieces going after your reputation, going after your customer base. And you wouldn't want to do that, would you? You wouldn't want to piss off the journalists, the elite, the aristocracy. No. The peasants may like you, the plebs, you know, the people with money, but you will have the elite against you. The people who deem themselves worthy of handing out the prestige. That's why I'll always look down on journalists, the snake oil salesmen, the people pushing an idea, trying desperately to keep the curtain covering reality. Because the only reason any of these hit pieces carry any weight with companies at all is the reputation that journalists don't deserve. Something they're riding on the coattails of their ancestors. And quite simply, I don't know if they even deserved it back then either. And if their veneer of respectability is removed, their reputation is stripped, then all they are is just like me, a guy in a room giving his opinion, except their opinion is anti-something which is value neutral or traditional. And quite frankly, if it came down to the choice between the two of us in that case, very confident in myself in that one. But let me know your thoughts down below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.